All right, this is serious. Trump's new bill not only cuts Medicaid, it also cuts food assistance and multiple other forms of safety nets for the most vulnerable populations in America. Trump was asked about this exact thing at Capitol Hill yesterday, and watch his terrible answer.
You campaigned on lowering the price of groceries. How do you justify cutting food assistance in this bill?
Let me just tell you, the cut is going to give everybody much more food because
That's not how it works.
prices are coming way down. Groceries are down. Eggs. You told me about eggs. You asked me a question about eggs. My first week, you said eggs. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs.
This dude is like a desperate New York car salesman. Dude, you haven't done anything. No prices have come down.
And there's going through the roof. You know that eggs now are way down. Everybody's buying eggs. Groceries down. Energy's down. Gasoline.
Just because you say it does not make it true. Trump has been claiming there's waste, fraud, and abuse with Medicaid, with food assistance, at USAID, and every single institution he's been cutting, quote unquote, waste, fraud, and abuse, but it's actually just civil servants. A lot of this money is now being redirected to the richest of the rich. I talked to Representative Krishnamoorthi from Illinois' 8th Congressional District, and you guys should watch this interview because we talk and expose Elon Musk near the end. Watch until the end for a surprise. Make sure you drop a like. And check this out. Love all of you. Peace out. The average American doesn't even have $500 on hand for an emergency, yet Trump is increasing the cost of goods via tariffs. Trump is stripping Medicaid. And throughout all of this, they're straight up lying. So how do you respond to somebody like Trump or Elon Musk? They say that Medicaid is fraudulent. There's waste, fraud, and abuse in these institutions. They basically use that as a pretext to then slash it. How do you respond to these false accusations?
Well, it's completely bogus. And you don't have to trust Democrats. You can look to quote unquote nonpartisan or independent sources, whether it's the Congressional Budget Office, whether it's, for instance, even the Tax Foundation, which is a Republican outfit, says there's hundreds of billions of dollars of cuts. You can look to anybody, and what you're going to see is that you're going to see about 8 million people thrown off of Medicaid almost instantly. And then on top of that, you're going to see other people lose their health insurance over time because they're not going to get the premium tax credits that were afforded to them under Obamacare. And so you're looking at, in Illinois alone, 800,000 people losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid, and that's going to decimate our rural hospital system as well as hospitals in underserved communities. And what that's going to lead to is a cascade of bad things. You're going to see layoffs. You're going to see people with private health insurance, Medicare, not be able to access care because providers are closing doors. So this is going to have tremendous ripple effects at the same time that we're headed toward a recession, man. I mean, we are possibly already in a recession because of the tariff chaos that we saw that Donald Trump initiated, and Elon Musk has also aided through Doge. So this couldn't all happen at a worse time.
And okay, my question to you now is, I live in Illinois. I live in Chicago. My question to you is, a lot of people in the city and across the United States watching feel like the past few months have been grim, right? Like even everything that we've been talking about for the past 5 or so minutes have been quite grim. So what actionable steps can people take before the midterms to have their voice heard? What are you doing? Give us some hope,
Yeah, I think there are 4 things that we have to engage in. One, we have to really shine a light on the harm that this is going to do to real people. So I constantly am having events where I basically have real people talk about their real stories. And I want people to come forward with their real stories and shine a light, allow people to learn about what's going to happen. The reason this is important is because the media cares about this, and they will then amplify what's happening, and they'll change public sentiment in a very positive way for as far as we're concerned. Number 2, we have to continue to pursue litigation because I believe some of these moves are illegal. And we need to continue to aid in efforts to pursue litigation both inside and outside Congress. Third, we have to use our votes. And that means I'm not sure what's going to happen exactly today on the floor of the House, but we Democrats have to remain united in opposing this bill both here and in the Senate. And then fourth and finally, we have to hold people accountable. That means Republicans, especially in marginal or vulnerable districts, we have to say, look, you can either choose your constituents or choose the allegiance to Donald Trump. You can't do both. If you choose the latter, you're going to lose your job. And we have to make it very clear to them what the stakes are.
What would be your message to somebody like Donald Trump at this point in his presidency?
We're not going to stand for this. We're going to stand up to you. We're going to hold you accountable for what's about to happen to millions of people. And then we're going to use this as a means of taking back the House, taking back the Senate, and obviously, ultimately, the White House. But we have to do everything we can to not show fear. Okay, that's one thing that I'm always I perceive among some people, that they fear speaking out because they fear being targeted. But for those who are in a position, like, we have to speak up, speak out, and show up wherever we can.
Yep, you cannot obey in advance. And the Trump admin has been using public intimidation very, very intentionally. For example, one of the silver bullet arguments about Elon Musk and his consolidation of power lately has been that over 40 different regulatory agencies paused investigations into Starlink, SpaceX, Neuralink, all of these things. And that's because Trump fired the inspectors general, right? So after that happened, the public intimidation worked. People basically started to slow walk or even halt these investigations. So my final question to you is, how does the Democratic Party message around this billionaire issue? Because I personally don't think billionaires are inherently bad. I never have. I think that Mark Cuban seems like a really solid guy. But how do you stop people from, like Elon Musk, from leveraging their wealth to do this?
Well, that's the thing. I think you put your finger on it, which is, like, we don't necessarily begrudge someone's success. I think that we want everyone, whether you're working poor, middle class, growing a business, to do well economically. However, if you entrench yourself and you then pull up the ladder so that others can't kind of rise and realize their potential, that's when we call foul, and that's when we're going to go after you. Okay, so that's how I think we should be messaging on this with regard to Elon Musk and others who would seek to kind of entrench themselves, prevent others from competing with them. A lot of these investigations, by the way, that you talked about, some of them are for national security, but others are for anti-competitive behavior. And so he is basically in kind of funding Donald Trump, funding the Republican Party, also using his influence to then make himself more successful by kind of shady and kind of anti-competitive means. And so we've got to call a spade a spade.
At least he's not collecting all of our consumer data to help further his business interests, right? Oh, wait.
That's right. Or using it to train his AI models, right? I think that type of behavior is, I got to tell you, that is one thing, by the way, that unifies Republicans, Democrats, Independents. When I talk about the data security that has been breached by Doge and Elon Musk, I see smoke coming out of their ears, and we Democrats need to use that issue to kind of help others explain, like, what the stakes are and why we're so bothered by what's happening right now.
Thank you, Representative Krishnamoorthi. You should come in studio in Chicago at some point. We're building it up right now. That would be great. Thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
You as well.